Well, friends, it is Wednesday, December 13th, 2023. Very happy Hanukkah to those celebrating now. Happy holidays. Okay, Merry Christmas, Merry Kwanzaa, Merry everything you celebrate. Just do it with love. I'm Mark Hershberger of Pop Detective Records. I'm over here on the East Coast, just outside of Philadelphia in cool, crisp New Jersey. South Jersey, to be exact. Joining me always from the West Coast, he's my very good friend. It's only about 3 o'clock in the afternoon for him, but the president of the International Pop Overthrow Festival, Mr. David Bash. David, it's great to see you every Wednesday, as always. How you doing, my friend?
Likewise, Mark. I'm doing okay. I hope you are too.
Oh, fantastic. No, this is great.
Beautiful day in SoCal. About, I don't know, what was it, about 72 degrees today. It's supposed to stay in the 70s, I believe. Let me check that out right now. Yeah, we'll be in the 70s for the next 5 days, and then it gets cool again into the 60s and even 50s.
Wow.
A few days next week. But this week, it's going to be all 70s all the time. Kind of like the way I like my music.
All 70s all the time.
Yeah.
Your material issue.
Speaking of 70s, although this...
Yeah, speaking of 70s, happy birthday, David. 70s?
No? Yeah, right. No, I wanted to talk about, I don't know if you can even see this.
Yes.
It's the new box set by Camel called Airborne, done by Decca. I kind of wish it was done by Madfish, like they did the Caravan box, because that one, those are more expensive, but they give you the actual record sleeves in CD size.
Oh, yeah.
But this one has about 30 CDs. Hey, Tim.
Hey, Tim, good to see you.
This one has 30 CDs.
He's got
his
T-shirt.
30 CDs of really cool melodic prog and prog pop. If you're a fan of 70s prog, hi. I'm not sure who the Facebook user is, but hi. So anyway, one of the things I love about Camel is, well, the lead vocals are really nice when they're there. It's mostly instrumental, but when they sing, it's beautiful. And one of the vocalists in their 80s period was Chris Rainbow, who's one of my favorite artists of all time. Some of you may know his albums, Looking Over My Shoulder and Home of the Brave and White Trails. He was very much a Beach Boys acolyte. Right. And his albums sound a little bit like Sunflower mixed with Pilot. And I mentioned Pilot because a few of the members of Pilot played on his albums. Chris Rainbow was also a vocalist for the Alan Parsons Project and Camel in the 80s. And, you know, he's got as good a voice as you can get, really. So that helps. And, of course, this box set has a lot of live stuff. But yeah, it's great stuff if you're into that sort of thing. Yeah. What else happened? Oh, new watch.
I'd rather fight than switch.
It's not a Terryton thing. My new watch. This is a Knopf, KNOPF. I don't know how well you're seeing it. It's New York 405. It's modeled after the Chrysler building in New York.
Oh, very cool.
I have a Chrysler car, so. Just another really cool Art Deco design. Oh, yeah. I'm sure they were great. Just a really cool Art Deco design. Just something I've been into lately.
Is your watch set to pop?
We'll have to ask our guest.
Yeah, it's a good one.
He knows more about that than I do. That was his record.
That's awesome.
And so, obviously, my taste... You know, people know about me loving power pop, but I also love prog. And as Camel would attest, as long as it's melodic prog.
Yeah.
So I like to think of myself as somewhat eclectic, and eclectic is the word to describe the new album by our guest called Look Into It.
Yes, indeed.
It's people associate, most of our listeners associate this man with power pop, and make no mistake, there is plenty of power pop on here, but you've also got some really cool sort of REM-ish indie rock. You got some folk rock. You got rockabilly. You even got a ska track, I should say, not sky. Ska. But this man has lived all over the world, so that might be why he's so eclectic. But also, not only is that the case, but he made his name originally as part of a duo called Foster and Lloyd, who had a top 5 country Billboard hit called "Crazy Over You." How many people can say they had a top 5 hit on the country charts and also a bunch of power pop albums on best of lists? Mm-hmm. The answer is one person in the world, only one, and we've got him as a guest. And he's a really good guy and a great singer-songwriter. So without further ado, would you please give a huge Material Issues welcome to Mr. Bill Lloyd.
Here's the scene. He's staring at a TV screen, and all he can do, it seems, is looking ahead.
That's right.
Looking into it over here.
That is the title track, the first track on the great new record by Bill Lloyd, Look Into It. Possibly my favorite album of yours. I never thought I would say anything would beat Feeling the Elephant, but the eclecticism on here and how well you do those styles really, really works.
Thank you, David. And thank you both for having me on. I really appreciate you taking the time with me today.
Yeah, well, we appreciate it as well. You lived in a lot of different places as a kid, right?
My dad was in the service, so yeah, we moved around a lot. And then, but about the time I got into 2nd grade, he'd gotten out of the service. So about the age of 7 or 8, I was in Bowling Green, Kentucky for many years, and until, well, I did move to New York in 1980, real briefly. And just to see if we could get something going with the band I had at the time. And we ran out of money, and Lennon was killed, and we went back home and put out some independent vinyl, and then that band broke up, and I moved to Nashville in 82, and I've been here since.
Wow. Now, what was New York really a culture? Was that culture shock?
Oh, are you kidding? I did Bowling Green, Kentucky. From there to now, my parents were Midwestern. They were Kansas, Oklahoma. My mother was a librarian. My dad was a musician and a journalist and officers club manager. He did all kinds of stuff. So my parents were really not from, the South or anything, but it was still growing up in the South for me. And in my head, I was kind of that's where we wanted to be. Mm-hmm. We were a little too late for the punky, the first wave of New York rock, the television and all that stuff. But, we did manage to get into the power station studio and record some stuff. But when we missed our girlfriends, went home.
Which band was this at the time?
It was called Sergeant Arms was the name of it. And it was very, it was my buddy David Surface, who I've written a ton of songs over the years with. Jeff Foskett cut Cool and Gone. And that's a song David and I wrote together. And so I still write songs. I still write songs with David all the time. And even though we're in our later years here, all of us. But anyway.
Well, yeah, now that you mentioned that was going to be mentioned a little later. But yeah, Jeff Foskett recently passed, quite the talent. And
I owe a lot to him as a friend and as a collaborator. He was a wonderful guy. And
he really was.
And
I'm glad I got to know him.
Yeah, me too. The bonus years he had there at the end were probably not the best for him, but I think his prognosis at one point was 5 months, and he turned it into 5 years. So
yeah.
So
and always to the end, he felt like he was going to beat it. He really did.
Yeah, he had a wonderful attitude, which says a lot right there too.
Sure it does. Now, as a youngster, Bill, were you acutely aware of moving around a lot, or?
Yes. Yeah. But then when I settled, or when our family settled in Kentucky, it was not a bad place to grow up. It was a college town, and
And I think the reason I ask is, I look at your entire body of work, and I'm a lyrics guy as well as I love melodies, but probably more than David, I love lyrics, and your lyrics are very observational, with a twist. There's a sense of humor to a lot of them. There's,
Yeah.
some of the tracks, even on the new album, to me, are almost like a poppier Dr. Hook, because Dr. Hook always had these crazy ass lyrics that fit perfectly with the feeling of the song. And what I'm getting at is your experience of moving around a lot and work with a lot of people has got.
You're going to need an eye patch, Bill.
Oh, it's funny. Dennis LeCourrier from Dr. Hook sang on Set to Pop album.
There you go.
He sang
backgrounds full circle, doesn't it?
He sang backgrounds on the thing called Beautiful Lie that David Surface and I wrote. But if you're thinking of the song Aroma Dollarhead, that's the one that is a very Shel Silverstein inspired deal. The name came into my head in the morning, and I said, I got to do something with that. So before I was even awake, I went to the computer and just started pounding out a lyric, not knowing what the hell I was talking about. But and by the end of the song, I kind of had an idea of what I was writing about. But it was like sort of freeform thinking. And
Aroma Dollarhead. I mean, it's like my question.
What does that mean? I don't know.
Where do you come from, and what does that mean?
But by the end of the song, I think that hopefully there's enough clues there that it's sort of a little political commentary too. So
it's it's got a very strong REM feel as well.
Really? Okay.
That's what cool. I hear.
So
does the number system. They both do in different ways.
Well, thank you. And both of them, I play everything on. It's one of those where you stack the tracks up, and I'm playing drums and all the guitars and all that stuff. And so I loved REM. I knew them early on.
Oh.
And Pete Buck and I have the same birthday. I'm a year older, though.
Oh, okay.
Which we just had. I just turned 68.
Yeah, you were December.
Happy birthday.
6th.
The 6th of my brother's birthday. Yes, indeed. Yeah.
Cool.
So, and mine up next week.
You too.
Few months late, but I'll take it.
Yeah. We were kidding about 70. It's great. Yeah, mine.
Okay.
Well, we're all December babies here, but
not me, but
not you. But the numbers.
I'm a September boy who got it bad.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you whether you struggled over the lyrics to the number system, and for those who haven't heard it yet, you've got to go buy this brand new CD from Bill Lloyd.
That's right.
To find out how he struggled over the lyrics to the number system.
If anyone knows about the Nashville number, well, it's called the Nashville number system, but studio musicians use it everywhere, where you don't have to write out the key, or you put the key at the top right of the chart, and then you just use whatever key you're in. Tonic is 1, and then you just use numbers for the changes in the song, so you can quickly absorb where everybody's going without getting too tied up into the and just it's a good roadmap, and a lot of musicians use it, and I just thought, wow, wouldn't it be fun to do an instrumental and just yell out the lyric, but the lyric is the numbers. So
I was actually taking it literally, and I was trying to figure out the mathematical progression. Thinking, wait, is this base 6? Wait, what is he doing here? I don't get it.
I actually figured out where the Holy Grail was by using that number system.
Excellent. Well, don't open the thing. You saw what happened in the movie. Don't open it up.
Don't open it up.
Yeah.
So Bill, you settled in Bowling Green after moving around. How did your music your music life begin? Were your parents musical?
Yes. My mother played piano. My dad played swing era drums and was a big record collector. And my mother was a librarian, so a lot of books and music in the house, which at the time I didn't think much about it, but I was very fortunate, and yeah, they were both musical. And when I was in my early teens, my dad and I would play him Tommy, and he would play me, Bix Beiderbecke or whatever, or just, swing era stuff that he loved. And, we tried to come to a meeting of the minds. I think Uncle Ernie kind of made him walk away in disgust. But
I can imagine so.
which it kind of does me too. But I just whatever. I just kind of feel like we tried, and he would come see me play.
You were fiddling about the turntable.
Well, here's the thing. I started playing drums early, and he had been a drummer, and I started playing in bars 3 nights a week when I was 15. So, which is probably not legal, but me and a friend of mine did get away with it. And
sure, that's rock and roll, getting away with stuff like that.
Yeah, and it was early 70s, and nobody paid too close attention. So,
when did you catch the writing bug?
Early, because Lennon McCartney. Well, I had one record before Beatles was Ricky Nelson Sings for You on Decca. And really, I didn't think about James Burton or Joe Osborne or all those great players that were behind him. I just liked it, but I would see the names on the back and study the back sleeve and go, okay, here are the songwriters. And then with the Beatles, it was like, wow, they write all their own stuff, or not all, but most stuff. And that was inspirational. And so early, like 11 or 12, I started like writing out lyrics and saying, I'm going to write a song. And, even though I played drums mainly, I took up guitar early and then piano. So yeah, it was always wanted to be a songwriter.
Somebody, why do I think Jordan Oakes is behind some of these puns? Somebody, a few bands that we had, a few Mersey Beat era bands, or a little bit later, said that the fact that the Beatles wrote their own songs is what inspired them to write theirs. So
yeah. Well, and I heard you probably know this, but McCartney said that he and John weren't that much on a creative tear on writing near as much until all the other bands were doing the same covers that they were doing, and they felt like they had to write their own to separate themselves from the other bands that were doing the same B-sides and saying whatever they would do in their sets.
Right now.
So when you were doing your first bands, was it rock and roll always until you met Radney?
Well, no, I mean, no, not exactly. There was I always loved Joe Ely, Commander Cody, Southern California country rock, Flying Burrito Brothers, Byrds, especially later Byrds after the initial band. I love the later Byrds stuff. I love the early Byrds, like beyond belief, but I loved also the later era Byrds with Gene Parsons, and that was great. And I listened to Rodney Crowell and Emmylou Harris, and so when I moved to Nashville, I thought, well, maybe I could write some songs that would kind of fit in with that kind of thing. And when I got to Nashville, I realized it was all urban cowboy, kind of Gary Morris and big voices, Lee Greenwood and things like that. So, but I did get, I was playing in town around the bars and joining bands, and finally got the song Feeling the Elephant on a local compilation that the radio station here, the campus radio station for Vanderbilt, played the heck out of Feeling the Elephant. So I had a local following before Foster and Lloyd.
Nice.
And then, but the opportunity came for us to, we've been writing a bunch of songs together and a publishing company, Mary Tyler Moore, MTM Music. And that's how we ended up getting the deal with RCA, was through the songs. And it was organic. We weren't put together. We were writing together, and it was just fun to do. And we were getting cuts by other people, but the project itself came from an organic place.
So, did you play a lot in high school? Were you in garage bands?
Yeah. The band that made money was, I was the drummer in that we would play that place 3 nights a week, but then we'd also play other dances and places around the region, get in a van and go play, but bands that did original material really came after high school for me. I was playing pizza parlors and sneaking in a few of my own, to playing acoustic shows where I would sneak in a song or two. I would do I remember doing This Time Tomorrow by the Kinks and Harry Rag. I was a big Ray
Oh.
Davis fan back then, and sneaking in all this obscure stuff, along with Good Time Charlie's Got the Blues, whatever, which is a great song. And
Danny O'Keefe, yeah.
yeah, I ended up writing one song with him years ago.
Oh wow.
If I had to make a list of all the people I got to write with, I would be impressed. I've been so fortunate that the situation I have here in Nashville has allowed me to work with so many great people. So
yeah, the list just on like on your website, on Wikipedia and informational sites out there, the list of people that you've worked with, written with, played with is just it's amazing. It's astounding. You ever sit back and go, holy cow, A, where did the time go? How did I fit all this stuff in? And B, yeah, how blessed am I? Not that you're not talented and deserved it. You definitely are, but
yeah, luck, and when opportunity meets, just the ability to follow through with it, I guess, been very lucky though. As I've gotten older and just, aware that there's, only so much time ahead of me, I'm really trying to get a lot of bucket list stuff done, musically. And I'm already starting to record for another album.
Oh, wow.
Well, just because I don't tour. And in fact, I left the last band I was a part of was called Cimarron 615, which was a country rock band made up of former members of Poco. And I'd played with Rusty Young and Poco, subbing for Paul Cotton at some point and had songs on there. But he and I worked together in a band called the Sky Kings in the 90s. And the guys at Blue Elan Records put me and the other guys together, and we made a record. Came out only earlier this year. But the road thing was just not really part of my plan. And once we kind of had one member leave and we were out doing van road stuff, and I was thinking, gosh, I'm not feeling up for this anymore. So I opted out. I wish them the best. But anyway, yeah, since I don't go on the road, I just figure writing and recording as much as I can while I can is the name of the game right now for me.
Is there a bucket list?
Sorry, Mark, go ahead.
Just say, is there a bucket list for somebody that you would really love to record with, to sit down and go head to head? Do you have a top of the list that if you had a dream
oh guy? God! Well, can you? Are you even allowed to say Paul McCartney? I mean,
David and I had
on this one.
There's absolutely no way. You know what? He had a great collaborator in Elvis Costello, and I really wish they'd made a record together as opposed to just because that would have been interesting. I love the songs that they wrote together.
Oh, Back on My Feet is wonderful.
Yeah, Eric Stewart was great collaborator for him. I don't know that he's. I think the legend of Lennon looms so large for him that I think it's almost impossible for him to, write with other people and not people not be cowed by his.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Everything.
Never say never, Bill. I
remember. Yeah.
I was going to say in the 90s, if you had walked around to your music buddies and said, I'll bet you that in 10 years, Brian Wilson will not only be touring again, he'll be touring the Smile album. If you bet everybody $100, you'd be a billionaire right now.
I'd be a very wealthy guy. Yeah.
So you never know what could happen.
I know. That's it's interesting. All this stuff that used to be really on the down low in terms of like fan stuff, music fan stuff, that has become really well regarded by a larger group, like the Big Star. The Kinks have finally gotten a little more deserving.
They have, yeah.
Look, I got to play on a Ray Davis record and got to hang with Ray a little bit when he was in Nashville and
nice,
and in New York. So, just being around people like that is really exciting for me because they were the people that inspired me to begin with.
And
what is on your bucket list right now?
I don't know. I want to finish up with this. I just wrote yet another song. I've written 2 songs with Graham Gouldman. One was on the Spider Pop record, Working the Long Game.
Yeah.
And then there's a brand new one that we just wrote about a month and a half ago when he was in town. And I'm dying to get that on tape and get it recorded. And then I've got a, yeah, this sounds just so self-indulgent, but I'm sorry, I'm going to have to turn my phone down.
It's all good.
I've got this self-indulgent desire to there's a bluegrass song on my new album. There's a reggae, ska, whatever song on the album. But I really want to do something jazzy. And I play piano and there's a West Coast jazz little thing that I put together that has like bits of Giraldi and Miles Davis and that kind of thing to it. So not that I can play it very well, but I can write it and then get some really good players to play it and then maybe put some guitar on top of it. But that's another thing. Yeah, it's just stuff I want to add to the list. But,
now, as I recall, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you posted on Facebook a little while back that you were listening to a Barclay James Harvest album.
No, I don't know that stuff, but there's all kinds of bizarre stuff that
must have been somebody else, but I remember it was someone who I wouldn't have expected. So I was wondering when your Prague song is going to be.
Listen, I saw Yes so many times in the 70s. I was a big Yes fan, loved Genesis, King Crimson, saw Emerson, Lake and Palmer. I saw Robert Fripp do a Frippatronics thing where it was just him and the tape machine. Yeah, I'm a pretty big fan of a lot of that stuff,
I figured, yeah.
And especially Yes, though. I saw them about 6-7 times at least, maybe more. My friends got backstage to a show in 73 and me and my friends talked our way back saying, hey, we have to come get our friend. He had talked with Wakeman and we not broke in, but were led into their dressing room where they were having some sort of vegetarian meal, except for Wakeman. And they, and here we were just sort of hanging out with Yes. It was pretty amazing. Fanboy stuff, right?
Well, that's why I have to ask you this next question. I'm a big rockabilly fan. So did you actually work with Carl Perkins? What did you do with Carl?
Radney and I would open shows for him. And his manager was a guy named Ken Stiltz. I'm sorry about my phone. Ken Stiltz was his manager at the time, who also managed the Judds, if you remember the Judds.
Sure.
And they asked who recorded the Foster and Lloyd records, and so I got the call and saying, "Would you like to work with Carl?" And that was like, I mean, we kind of knew him already, but I got to go down and hang out at his place in Jackson, Tennessee, and I was in the guest bedroom, and I knock, and go, "Bill, Valda's got breakfast on." And I mean, it's crazy, it's like, and I worked in his back. He had a boathouse. Oh, not a boathouse, a pool house behind his house where there was a cement pond. And, and he had the pool out there and the pool house and a studio out there. And I worked with he and his sons and a couple other local musicians that were in his touring band. And
Ellie Mae wasn't there though.
Ellie Mae, unfortunately, was not there, but the animals were. All the animals were. But
critters, yeah.
But we cut some, demos there, and then I got a budget from RCA to go in the studio with him. I cut 3 things. 2 of them ended up on a Bear Family compilation called Carl Rocks.
Oh yeah.
We did Memphis in the Meantime, which John Hyatt wrote, and pretty cool record of that. Jerry Douglas played lap steel on it, and it was fun getting to work with Carl. He was a delight, and again, one of those I can't believe I'm doing,
Yeah. I got to meet him once at Valley Forge Music Fair. I played in a rockabilly band, a local thing. We did some crazy stuff, but went down to see Carl, who he opened up for Roy Orbison. And we had front row and revolving stage seats. The whole night, my jaw was just agape at seeing these 2 legends live, and got to meet him afterwards. Got to say hello. Just the nicest
Exactly.
Gentleman is probably the best way to.
Roy as well. Radney and I, our first real gigs were opening up for Roy. We were in a bunch of those places up in the Northeast, those in the round places.
Yep.
Cape Cod, I think. There's one in Cape Cod, and there's a couple of those places. Anyway, we would open for Roy, and he was really sweet to us also. So yeah, just getting to be around those kind of folks.
Does it blow your mind that there are people out there who feel the same way about you? That if they stayed at your home, they would be telling their friends or their wives. Like I was in Bill Lloyd's house.
Do you see the clutter behind me?
Yeah.
This is just an example of the way the rest of my house looks. It's my son and I live here. He's 33 now, and we need a maid.
A man needs a maid.
A man needs a maid. Oh, on the new album, there's a song about called "Keep the Place Clean."
Yep.
Yeah.
That I wrote with the Kennedys, Pete and Maura Kennedy, and we wrote it a long time ago. And
they're great.
Yeah, I love them. And but it's about a stalker who's maybe just a lazy psychopath who doesn't really looking for any sort of kinky gratification. He's just looking for someone to do the dishes and pick up around the house.
Place clean.
Hey, Mark, let's hear a little bit of that because you've got it queued up, don't you?
Oh, well, let's hear a little bit of "Keep the Place Clean." We've got it right here. Bill Lloyd's brand new album, "Keep the Place Clean."
Fast food drive-through, hanging nylons at the laundromat. Never spots it when he's in the side view. A mirror image of a Cheshire cat. She's oblivious, he's right behind her while she's going through the daily grind. It took a little time to find her. Photos, a sink full of dishes and some magazines. Someday, who knows? She can be the one to keep the place clean.
There's "Keep the Place Clean." Look into it. Brand new Bill Lloyd. Man, that just, how can you not smile and be happy when you listen to a song about a psychopath wanting to have somebody do the dishes? It really is. It's just it's great. The lyrics are great. The melody, it rolls right along. I love it. Fantastic.
Yeah, I agree. Bill, I've never asked anybody this on the show. But since you're such a big music fan as well, do you think if you were doing a list of your best of albums, let's say from a particular year, pick 2023 or 1987 or whatever year, where you had an album out, do you think you could objectively, in your mind, place your album somewhere on the list?
Not really. It's like I'm probably, the thing about me, and maybe a lot of musicians are this way, but I think, it takes a good bit of ego just to do it, just to go out and promote yourself and think you're good enough for people should hear this, right? But I've devoted a lot of my life to it. But on the other hand, I also know that the whole world there's a multitude of people out there who have different tastes and different likes and dislikes. And I don't know, I just kind of, hopefully the music will find people who like it, and the people who like it will find it. So that's why I appreciate being on your show, because hopefully people will hear something like. So.
Well, and it's funny. So many artists that we've interviewed from the 60s into the 70s, they're doing what they wanted to do, and they put it out. And many times it's like we had no preconceived notions that this would even get played anywhere for any reason. and bam, it happened.
Yeah. When I first made the solo record, the Feeling the Elephant record, that was a collection of recordings I'd made in the early 80s, like 82 through 85 or so. And finally, or maybe 86. And finally, it came out in 87, right before Foster and Lloyd were getting ready to put our first album out. And I was in that camp where sort of Southern guitar pop, along with the DBs and Let's Active, and Tommy Keene was happening at that time. Of course, Marshall Crenshaw was always a big influence too back then, and still, I still love Marshall and what he keeps doing. So yeah, there was and I had more ambition back then because I was young and I could still go out and promote and kind of think of myself being in the marketplace. But these days, just I'm older guy and I just kind of like doing these recordings. And so I just, any chance I have to kind of make people aware of them, that's good for me, but I'm not really buckling down trying to play. I haven't done any TikTok videos recently. We'll put it that way.
Yeah, we're not going to look for those either.
I want a TikTok video for all at once you unzipped.
I'd like to see that. Somebody could do a really funny thing there.
Now you mentioned a little bit earlier about your union with Radney Foster. Expound upon that. How did you get the deal with RCA, and how did it happen that Crazy Over You became a top 5 country hit, which is amazing?
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I've got a plaque back there on my wall from the CMA, Country Music Association, congratulating us on a #1 hit. And this is just a little small thing, but every chart but Billboard had it at #1. Radio and Records and Cashbox and all that. It was only Billboard that kept us out of the #1 position. All the others had it as a #1. So and we got tons of airplay. That song had been cut by a guy named Ricky Van Shelton, and it never was a single for him. It was on one of his albums that did really well, but we started writing together. We were the two of the younger guys at Mary Tyler Moore Music, and it's just that combination of my pop kind of thing, and he's got this great voice, Texas, reedy kind of voice, and I had a good harmony voice for him. And there would be things where he would write that I would sing in harmony and play guitar on, things that I would write that I would get him to sing, and a lot of songs we co-wrote. So that there was actually this long story, which I'll try not to make too long. There was another guy I was doing bar gigs with around town. We would call ourselves the Ever Ready Brothers. There was a guy at RCA who was one of their producers who came to see us, was in the Cups one night, thought we should be, his name was Will and my name was Bill. So he wanted to call us Will Billy and sign us to RCA. And it was like, and I didn't think it was, so I went to a friend of mine at RCA who I knew already and said, he's got this idea, but I really listen to this tape. Here are the 2 songs he and I had written, but listen to this other stuff that Radney Foster and I wrote. And that's how the deal came about. Was we initially not looking for me and Radney, but I said, would you like to do this? Would you like to be a duo? And so that's how that happened. And we went in and cut the first album, basically doing kind of Technicolor versions of what the 8-track versions were. And lucky, the Crazy Over You became it got played in dance halls and stuff just because of a nice shuffle beat.
Right. Yeah.
And just the groove of it was good. Loud drums for country radio. That was that was a new thing at the time.
Yeah.
And I mean, our choice of producers were T-Bone Burnett, who we couldn't afford, Don Dixon, who turned us down, who I love Don, he's a great friend, and Gary Talent, who good friend who I see all the time. But at the time, they were all busy, and so they let us cut it and produce ourselves. And
Mm.
And it was just very lucky. It lasted 3 or 4 years, and then we knocked it on the head at the end of 1990. And I worked for RCA for a while as a talent scout, and then the Sky Kings project came along. And but I still continued to make my solo records, Set to Pop, and a few others after that.
I was going to say you stayed in that power pop vein the whole time.
Well, I always had songs. I was always recording and writing songs, but I just didn't put one out for between Elephant and Set to Pop. There was a few years in there where I was really concentrating on the Foster and Lloyd stuff.
Whose track was?
Go ahead. Sorry,
I'll always be here, loving you. Whose track is that from?
I think that's Radney's song. I don't know if I don't think I was a co-writer on that one. I would have to go look. To be honest, I'd have to go look, but I'm pretty sure that's all his. I mean, the guitar stuff on there is all me. I played all the guitars on those records, except for if it got real twangy, that was Vince Gill playing with us. He guested on all of our records.
So you had one of the best there. Geez.
Oh, he's amazing and such a sweetheart. I love the fact that he's having to take a back seat in a band called the Eagles these days.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Tim was just mentioning that it seemed like every tribute CD had a Bill Lloyd cover on it. He wants to know if you enjoy doing covers of great songs.
I sure do. I love that. Thank you, Tim, for the question. I really do. Spider Pop put out a CD a few years back called Loitering, and it's a bunch of the covers. I think 10 or 12 songs on there. I think 12 songs of Beatles, Birds, Nilsson, the DBs, Bobby Fuller, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, great. It's a great one. I love it.
I've got all these like funky little questions I write down, Bill. I was thinking about them over the last week. Was the name Sky Kings, did that come from the Danny Gatton song?
No, it came from the TV show. And Pat Simmons from the Doobie Brothers was in that band. And
whoa!
And Pat, it was Rusty Young, Pat Simmons, John Cowan, and me were the Sky
from the real Doobie Brothers. Let me say.
Yes, yeah. He and Tom Johnson are the original two that are left, and they're still great. They are still great. I keep in touch with those guys. My friend John Cowan actually joined the Doobies as a bass player later, so he's doing that these days. But I love those guys.
Did you see that during COVID that I think they did the first COVID video where everybody was sort of separate and merged?
That was really fantastic. That was super. I think it was it Listen to the Music or
was it China? No, not China.
No. It was Pat's song, "Oh Black Water."
That's it, Black Water. Yeah.
Which
unbelievable.
If you listen to the Sky Kings record, the one that it didn't come out initially, we got that band was doomed. We had two different record labels, both Warner Brothers and RCA, both float us by country radio, and country radio just wasn't biting for the Sky Kings. So that was about a 5 or 6 year project that just never came to fruition. But years later, Sony put out the RCA stuff, and you can hear Pat's song on there called "Taking My Blues to the Highway," which sounds so much like that Black Water groove. It's worth looking on. I think on Apple Music you can find it. The Sky Kings, and we all enjoyed playing music with each other. It was really great.
What was it like reuniting with Radney for "It's Already Tomorrow"?
Oh, that was fun. I had been doing some sideman stuff out in. I came out to your neck of the woods, David, to do Hollywood Bowl a couple years, 2000.
Oh, wow.
2008. I was playing a second guitar with Cheap Trick. They were doing the Beatles Sgt. Pepper, and I was the second guitar player on that gig, and then that ended up being a thing we did in different cities, and then a steady thing in Las Vegas. So I'd been doing that, and he and I had been talking about, well, when you get done with this, why don't we, it's been just enough amount of time to, let's revisit the songwriting and see if we can come up with something. If we write some good songs, then we might want to, you know, think about doing another independent record or something. And that's what we did, and had a good time doing it.
Well, we already talked about how tough it was to write the Nashville Number System lyrics. How about lyric the game show stars of the 70s?
Yeah, it's the same deal, right?
Joey Mitchell, I love it.
I'm starting to figure out how this songwriting thing works just by listening to your. This isn't so difficult, David.
This is a lesson in laziness right here. Now, what I had was that guitar. I play guitar on that, and that's about all I play on that. There's a fellow named Jim Hoke who's brilliant, who ended up playing almost everything else on that, except for me reciting the game show stars like a disembodied voice coming out of a TV in the corner. But I wrote this little, you know, kind of a jazzy, made me think of NRBQ, really, kind of a jazzy instrumental. And I thought, I don't know if I can just do this straight. I got to have something else to it, you know. And I thought, what if the lyric was just a list? And during COVID, watching a lot of game shows, you know, because you're streaming and you're going, what else we got? What else we got? And you're going, oh, the match game, you know, and so, you know, all of a sudden you're watching all this crazy stuff from your youth, and
the stuff that they got away with back then.
Oh,
on those shows, it's
unreal. Totally politically incorrect.
So, well, and like me, do you watch those old things like that, and you can virtually remember the answer coming up, and
occasionally
where that comes from, deep in the bowels of your brain? Is like, why do I remember this? You know, but I do.
Yeah, it's like, well, I don't know if I remember the actual old shows, the decor, the clothes, all that stuff. Is just
the leisure suits were great.
Yeah, exactly. You know, and as you said, you know, all the off-color comments that would not fly these days. You know, in the
I was talking to David a couple of weeks ago about old black and white episodes of What's My Line. And
I love those.
They got away with so many politically correct. Who was it? Turned to an actress, and they had to introduce the person to their right, and they said, you know, she's got a little baby.
It was Gene Rayburn and Meredith McRae.
Yeah, Meredith McRae. Rayburn said she's got a little baby now. It's Meredith McRae. Meredith McRae said, Gene, I don't have a baby, and he turns to her and said, would you like one?
Oh wow.
Right
that
there.
That was the color. That was when What's My Line was in color already.
Oh yeah.
When Wally Bruner was the host.
And it was just like, you could see how uncomfortable she got immediately, but nobody paid for it, you know.
It's kind of a Groucho thing to say, but you know,
would you want one?
Yeah, but would you? But I don't know. It's just like people have a little more, hopefully, a little more tact.
Yeah.
Well, these days, no, you would never see. You would. I mean, God, I'm trying to remember. I mean, there are so. I can't even. Women being called housewives and just all kinds of little stuff. Even it's pretty amazing. The one person I was hoping you'd mention, he's a forgotten game show host, is Art James.
Oh wow!
I don't know if you remember him.
I don't. You know,
he had pay cards for a while, and then the who, what, or where game in the early 70s. He was more of a New York guy, I guess, and I was living in New York.
Oh, okay.
But I was waiting for his name to come up. Why don't we play some of that, Mark? I think we got it.
I think we do have it right here.
Bob Eubanks, Monty Hall.
to end on Charles Nelson Riley. Fantastic. I mean, that, yeah.
There was one match game, Jack Norris, from Beat the Clock. Tom Kennedy's brother, and there's Tom Kennedy.
All right.
With,
Before
you don't say.
There's going to be a part 2. I'm going
to. There was one match game episode. I don't remember what the question was, but Charles Nelson Riley gave a joke answer of something like black eyed peas, watermelon, chitlins, and Jimmy Walker is one of the other panelists. And they show him, and he's laughing. But of course, back then, you had to get along. If you were a black entertainer, you couldn't make waves about that. You don't know what he was thinking. Yeah. But outside, he had to show like, oh, yeah, I get it. You guys are just kidding around with me. But Lord, it was a different time.
We're playing.
I've now been inspired, guys, by part 2.
Part 2.
Oh, really?
There's got to be now. Son of game show stars in the 70s. But I'm gonna call you guys to get the list together.
Yeah, we'll help you. We're happy.
It'll be a different piece of music. Be a different piece of music, but the same idea. I'll just do a whole string of these.
That's one of the songs on the new album I was really impressed with, and again, this certainly displays your eclecticism on the record, was Bunny in the High Grass. We didn't talk about that one, but that has a really, really, really strong early 70s Canterbury folk feel. Are you into that sort of sound?
Well, I do love British folk music. Is that what you mean? Like Richard Thompson. Love Kate Rusby. She drives me crazy. I love her, and I mean in a good way. But really, that's supposed to be more of a bluegrass thing, which I don't know.
I can hear that too, but I don't know for some reason.
The guy, I wrote it, and I grew up in Bowling Green. There's a guy named Sam Bush who's well known in the bluegrass circles, who played with everybody from Leon Russell to Stephen Stills to Bill Monroe to everybody. And Sam's from Bowling Green. And John Cowan, who I was in the band, the Sky Kings with, was in that band as well. So I knew them, and I knew some other bluegrassers here in Nashville. And I was a big fan of the Dillards. Do you remember the Dillards?
Oh, yeah.
They were the Darlin family on Andy Griffith's show. The mandolin player, Dean Webb, was someone I knew early on. And so I knew a bunch of grassers, and I flirted with it, but never really wrote too many grassy songs. And there's a bunny in my front yard in the high grass. That's why I wrote the song. I just sounded like a bluegrass song. And the guy who's playing mandolin and banjo on it is the guy who turned me on to a lot of that music in high school. So here we are 50 years later, and I got him to play. Wow. Instead of calling celebrity friends, I called this guy because he's a brilliant player, and he did a great job. His name is David Romer. And I owe David a lot for turning me on to a lot of that music when I was just a junior in high school.
What a great story, man.
You got that queued up, Mar?
No.
I believe Bunny in the High Grass is there.
I'm just saying I don't have it queued up yet. Hold on a second.
Ah.
Here it is.
All right.
I know all is right with the world when Bunny's in the high grass. I might even get a kiss from my girl when Bunny's in the high grass. So still and perfect with the sun beating down. She'd be all shaking if the cat was around. Ears standing proud to catch every sound. Bunny in the high grass.
That's fantastic. See right there, lyrics.
I hear a lot of Fairport Convention in that. So
it's got the minor key thing. So which is Richard Thompson's specialty.
Yeah,
he can make you cry in a minor key.
Again, lyrically, I just love it.
Thank you, Mark.
That's just fantastic. It's a neat. I get a visual, and if I can get a visual from from somebody's story, that's fantastic.
Thank you. Well, not many people. It's odd, you know. We were talking about Yes a few minutes ago,
Mm-hmm.
and I think of the Yes lyrics as being the most obtuse, random kind of things ever. I, they worked. They worked. It never bothered me when I was young. I think they bother me a little more now, just because it just seems so random. But I love a great lyric. You know, Joni Mitchell, Randy Newman. Those people are the kind of people that Paul Simon.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there's the top three right there. In terms of songwriters who write great lyrics.
See, I'm very different. I'm very different in that. For me, it's important that lyrics sound good, that they go well. They go well with the music. They create a vibe.
Yeah.
I find myself singing along mechanically to some songs. I have no idea what I'm singing. I mean, there's some lyrics, 10cc, Sparks. You give me anything that's adolescent, clever, and then it resonates. But for the most part, I just want them to sound good. And
well, that works for a lot of folks, and it works for me sometimes too. I mean, McCartney doesn't spend a whole lot of time.
Oh yeah, he's perfect at that.
And he just goes by the sound.
When it comes to prog pop, David's a fan as well. But I grew up loving Klaatu, and their lyrics on all 5 of their albums. I mean, everything just took me away. I put the big headphones on, turned the lights off, closed my eyes, and I was floating in space somewhere, about ready to land on a planet.
No doubt.
Away.
That was a subway.
But then I try not to picture lyrics like a song like Half Mast. That's when I try not to picture the lyrics. We're all getting older. What is Half Mast about, Bill?
Hopefully not ED.
I'll tell you what. It came from that idea that people sometimes like being on the fence. They don't want to commit either way. And here's this character in that song. It's just about a guy who's he's going to wait to see who wins out before he takes a side. And not that I'm not trying to come down hard on that. In the song, the singer is the person who's that way. And so they're sort of admitting to themselves that they're, not quite up, not quite down.
And we're talking about this new album. Look into it. It just came out. What, December 1st, 2nd?
Yeah, 1st. Yeah.
And it's probably available at all the usual places. But we got BillLloydMusic.net. There's everything you need to know.
That's where you can get actual CDs.
Yep.
If you like the physical product,
which people should like. We don't ever want that to go away.
I'm still. Here's recent purchase right here. Do you see this?
Oh yeah, Journey Volume 2. Yeah.
Yeah, I've got both of them, and I just bought those last weekend. So I liked the liner notes where Ray and Dave kind of go into why they picked the ones that they picked.
Oh, nice.
And here's another one of those off questions for you though, Bill, because with all your albums and even the brand new one, Look Into It, interesting artwork. How much time do you spend on your album covers?
Well, I've gotten several really talented friends to do album covers for me. There's a guy named Brad Talbot who did the second version of Elephant and Set to Pop and
Standing on the Shoulders.
Standing on the Shoulders of Giants. And then let's see, Michael Slaughter did Back to Even. A drummer friend of mine who I worked with for years named Keith Brogdon did a bunch of covers for me. It's Happening Now and Reset and Boy King of Tokyo. And this new one is Steve Boyle, who does my videos for me. I don't know if there's a video for This Ain't My Parade that's up on.
Which I wanted to comment. That's another on my checklist here to talk about. What an incredible video!
Thank you.
I haven't seen it yet.
Steve did that. He did the cover and he did the video.
Not only a neat idea, and I won't spoil it for everybody who hasn't seen it, but go look at this video, and it's just such a cool idea, and the way it actually is done is just so neat. It's just an awesome video.
Well,
Awesome.
I'll tell him he said so, and thank you. The common factor between the video and the cover is this guy Steve Boyle, who I've worked with for many years, and he used AI, the dreaded AI,
Oh, the
which
dreaded,
is
yeah.
a controversial topic. But I told him, I said, "What are you seeing as the cover for this album?" And I said, "Well, look into it's going to be the title from that title song." And I thought maybe a crystal ball or a magnifying glass with something. There you go. Thank you, Dave. Something that looks like, interesting that you're looking at. And there was a bunch of stuff that he threw into AI, and I mean there was literally 30 or 40 choices. But when we started talking about film noir and getting something that looks kind of classic, black and white, that's the one that came out and spoke to us. So, but Steve did that, and then he's done a lot of videos for me. The parade footage, when then he's got you've talked about that already. So,
But that's just, and this is, if maybe I'm wrong here, but the way I see it, this is like almost looking into a rear view mirror from like a motorcycle or a Vespa or something. It looks like that because
well, see, yeah, I guess it's not really clear. That's supposed to be a magnifying glass, kind of close to your face.
Yeah, I see that.
That's the first thing I thought it was a magnifying glass, but then I couldn't line up the buildings and pictures and things. I said, well, no, maybe he's looking into a rear view mirror. And that's actually behind you. I don't know.
It could be. I think I just wanted to have something to do with the look into it.
It's great.
Well, thank you. The song itself.
Bill, are the long players still doing stuff?
Our 20th anniversary is coming up in the spring, so yes, wow. We're doing Rubber Soul at the end of this month.
Oh wow!
And we've got a great cast for that, and so the Long Players is a project that's been going on for nearly 20 years now, where the band takes classic albums, we learn them, and then I go out and solicit singers to come and be the guest artists to help sing the whole album live and in sequence. And then we take a short break and come back for more songs, because an album's 30, 40 minutes, and even with breaks in between, that's not long enough. So we come back for another set of songs, and it's been a joyous thing to do. And over the years, we've gotten to do Bob Dylan records with Al Cooper and Byrds records with Chris Hillman. And we did John Hyatt's Bring the Family, and John came down himself to help us do it. So it's been really fun to especially get people who were part of the original projects to sidemen like Charlie McCoy came down for the Dylan nights, and
that's incredible.
Yeah. Are you gonna dress in Rubber Soul garb when you do that?
We don't usually dress up or doing anything other than just try to celebrate the record without trying to be one of those bands that looks the part, and because there are a lot of those great bands that do all these. Well, a lot of classic rock bands have 4 or 5 bands that learn their thing and mimic the original band. And our thing is that we just do something different every time. And we've never learned a Yes album, or we've never learned Pet Sounds, because frankly, we don't want to be a band that just plays the same thing over and over again. So we kind of stick to kind of roots rock and Stones, Petty, Beatles. But we've done a lot over the years as a website for thelongplayers.com, and you can see there some of the things we've done over the years.
I hope one day to get to see one of your shows. Are they at East End usually, or somewhere else?
We play a place called Third and Lindsley here in Nashville, and it holds about 500.
Okay.
And we get a pretty good crowd in there. And
is that the place? Is it John Bruton? Is that his place?
No, it's not John's place. John's kind of retired these days.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, but I saw him not too long ago, and it's really good to see him again.
Next time you see him, please say hi.
I will.
Now,
so,
the brand new album, once again, look into it. Just came out. It's a fantastic album by Bill Lloyd, as is all Bill Lloyd's canon. So if
Yes,
you're,
Christmas is coming up, folks.
I'll tell you what,
This would be a great present for anyone who likes pop and eclectic pop, because this is definitely your most eclectic album, and every style that you've done, you've done really well. So
Thank you, Dan.
very impressed.
Thank you.
really wanted. We appreciate you taking the time out and hanging with us here on Material Issues, and everybody else joining us and watching this on the archives down the road. Bill Lloyd, it's been a wonderful hour with you.
I've had a great time talking with you guys. Thanks.
Thank you, Bill.
Covered a lot of ground.
Yeah, indeed. That's what the Material Issue is all about. And you're writing stuff, so we're already looking forward to a new album. But I'm not anywhere near tired of this brand new album. So
far from it.
I need a lot more from it. So everybody's checking in, saying how great the interview was. And
before you go, somebody did ask, did you work? Have you worked with Brad Jones?
Oh yeah, a lot. In fact, Brad is the bass player in the Long Players. When we started, it was Gary Talent, but he's in that other band.
Right.
E Street Band. And so, but Gary comes back and plays with us every so often. In fact, he's going to be a guest singer on this upcoming Rubber Soul show.
Oh, wow.
But Brad Jones is our bass player. And yes, I've recorded a bunch of things with him over the years. Cool and Gone, my version of Cool and Gone was cut by Brad. And on the Giants album, Standing on the Shoulders of Giants. And we mentioned Jeffrey Foskett earlier, and Cool and Gone he did such a nice version of that.
That he did. When is the when's the 20th anniversary show?
Well, this isn't 20th anniversary, but we're playing on December 30th, which is New Year's Eve, the day before New Year's Eve.
That's when you're doing Rubber Soul?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. It's a Saturday night,
yeah. And then we've already got shows booked into the new year. I can go ahead and tell you what sometimes we do theme nights, and so the theme for February 17, I think, is the date. Is going to be New York rock. So Velvet Underground.
Wow.
New York Dolls, Ramones, Talking Heads, Blondie, all that stuff. So hopefully we'll have I've already got a couple singers already enlisted. So. Looking forward to that.
Well, you know what? I might hasten my retirement. I always want to retire and live outside of Nashville. I think I might just hasten it a little bit so I can come down and not miss some of your shows down there, Bill.
It's certainly a great place for music. Yeah,
they're a lot of fun. We have a good time doing them, and feel blessed that we're still doing them after all this time. You know who's the other guitar player in the band? Is Steve Allen.
Oh yeah,
2020. He's
2020.
Yeah, and our drummer is Steve Eby, who was in a band called Human Radio. If you
with Ross Rice,
if you like prog pop, they were.
Human Radio was great. Ross is living upstate New York now, right?
Yeah.
He did actually come and play an IPO show in New York once.
Excellent!
20 years ago.
Ross is genius. He's fantastic.
Yeah,
I tell you, we did Traffic album once, the second Traffic album.
Wow.
And which is a bizarre choice, but every time we get Gary back into the band, I always say, "What do you want to do?" Because and so we've done Buddy Holly, and we did which Marshall and Crenshaw and Steve Earle came in for, which was really fun. But we did the second Traffic album, and Ross was king on that night. He was so great. I can't say enough good things about that guy.
I'd kill it to hear you do a Johnny Burnett Rock and Roll Trio album.
Oh, that would be fun. The rockabilly thing, I think it's we did Elvis's first album, and we had Jack Clement, and we had we didn't have any of the Jordanaires, but we had the sons of Gordon Stoker. We called them the sons of the Jordanaires. But Chuck Mead from BR 549, and we did Elvis's first album, and that was great fun.
I drove Paul Burleson from the airport to a show in Allentown one time. Picked him up, dropped him off at his hotel, and again, just one of the nicest guys. Just that era of some of those people are just incredible.
Well, they weren't all thinking they were going to be rich. They were just doing it because they loved it. I met Paul one time, and that was fun. He was nice. That thing he does where the way he plays guitar on Train
Yeah.
Kept a Rollin', where he's on the top of the neck and the bottom of the neck.
Right.
It's so great.
Genius. It's genius. Yeah, I
Yeah.
love it. This has been wonderful.
Well, I'm sorry. We can't stop talking, can we? I just
It's
go
all
ahead.
We
right.
could probably talk for several hours about music.
I guess we have to.
It's all good. Well, Bill, have a wonderful rest of the holiday season, and best of luck with this brand new CD. Look into it, or album, as I like to call it. Look into it. If you haven't picked it up, everybody, this is the one. Right now is the time to go out to Bill's website or find it. It's billlloydmusic.net. Pick it up. Pick up everything while you're out there. It's just a great canon of material from just a wonderful songwriter, singer. I just love your stuff, Bill.
Thank you, Mark.
Ditto.
Much
Absolutely.
Thank you.
I've been a fan since '87. So
yeah. Thank you so much.
No, I actually remember back then I was a sun worshiper, believe it or not. I used to lie out and had my Walkman, and I made a cassette. I bought the LP. There weren't CDs yet. I made a cassette of it and used to lie out and listen to Feeling the Elephant. So
excellent.
I'll never forget that.
Thank you.
Well, have a great one, Bill. We appreciate it.
Right. It's been a blast talking with you guys.
Look forward to having you back on
having you.
the next release as well. It'd be great.
All right. Sounds good.
Take care, Bill. Happy holidays. All right.
Well, yeah, there you go. I mean, fantastic. Well, that was a wonderful get there, David. Bill Lloyd just all his CDs rank up there. I just love him. And
yeah, he's wonderful.
One of those artists that you have a massive amount of CDs. I don't quite have that many, but when I just start pulling things out and going back and revisiting things, he's just one of those guys where whatever CD I pull out of his, it's just like, oh man, I haven't listened to this in a while, and then I can't stop listening to her for about a week or so, and then I got to pull out a different one, and it just it goes on and on and on. Just very well done. Love all his material. And this new CD, how good is it, man? It's so good.
It's gonna do pretty well on my best of list, that's for sure.
So I show that album cover again. Bill Lloyd's Look Into It. I still think it's a rearview mirror, but I've been.
If he says it's a magnifying glass, then that's what it is. I'm gonna go with. He's the creator. I'm gonna go with him. But
performing acoustic.
That's true. We've never. That's a good point. We've never had anybody.
Right. Bill's next album, we will have him on here with an acoustic guitar if he agrees. It would be great. But man, great stuff. Well, what do we got going on here? We've got the year ending up. We've got a great guest next week, David, don't we?
Yeah, we certainly do. We were supposed to have him on last week. There was a bit of miscommunication, but we're going to have him on next week with a bit of serendipity because it's perfect timing for him to make an announcement about something that he's doing now, something that he promises will be really cool and that pop fans will want to hear about. But yeah, if you've been listening to us the last few weeks, you know that our guest next week will be none other than the head of Not Lame Records, head of Pop Geek Heaven, and all the other stuff, the catalogs, everything he's done, the releases, the mail order. He's the king, no doubt about it. And it'll be his second appearance on Material Issues. Yes, Mr. Bruce Brodeen next week on Material Issues on what's the date? The 20th, December 20th.
That's the 20th, 2 days before my birthday. That's going to be our holiday celebration extravaganza. Yes, it's going to be Mr. Bruce Borden.
Somebody called him that one day, or well, maybe didn't call him that, just typed it.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, Peach and Lee, yeah, that's a great LP. He even makes hand puppets.
But yeah, he's going to be
20th. The 20th would have been my mom's 89th birthday. So
look at that.
But
as it is, we're also going to have it's not really a super stump to bash. It's going to be a Brodeen versus bash. B&B, Brandy and Benedictine, as we can call it. We'll see if Mr. Brodeen can take down David Bash in another song clip segment of what, where, when, how, why, or whatever.
I'm sure he's capable of doing it.
It's
I'm look, everybody I played. I spoke with John Borak. He said had he been up against me last week, he'd have won, and I believe that because he knows a bit more about '80s chart records than I do. So he would have known that. He said he would have known the two I didn't, and I know, obviously I know both those songs, but not in the first 10 seconds. It would take me longer. But he knew them, and he knew the other ones that I knew. So, it depends. Everything it's all random. So, but about Ken, now Ken Jennings couldn't beat me, I'll bet.
no.
He doesn't have to know the first 10 seconds. Well, I guess if it's an audio daily double,
he could probably,
But they don't always play the first 10 seconds. They might play the chorus. So that, I mean, if I heard the chorus of This Is It and they asked who did it, I would have known that. Anyway, enough of that. On the 27th, it's just going to be Mark and me, but we will also have a very small segment. And tell us who.
Well, everybody's aware of, and I want to get this right, the wildfires in Maui that have done so much destruction. And, a very good friend to all of us, Mr. Michael McCartney, the DJ out in Maui, has lost everything, as a lot of people have. Well, Lisa Michaels and Eddie Finley are part of putting together this wonderful benefit called Embers of Aloha. It's a I keep saying Miami. It's a Maui Relief CD project. It's out on Bandcamp right now. It's digital only. And I'm going to run the link along the bottom, the timemachine2.bandcamp.com. That's Michael McCartney's radio show, The Time Machine, which he hasn't done since all this went down. But there's 42 tracks on this, and I just wrote down some things quickly. You're going to hear tracks from Ken Sharp, Star Collector, Dean Friedman, David Muir, Jeremy Morris, Terry Draper, Willie Wisely, Seth Swirsky, Kyle Vincent, Lisa Michaels, Nelson Bragg, Cliff Hillis. It goes on and on and on. So if you want to help support the Maui relief effort, go on out to the timemachine2.bandcamp.com. They list it at $20, but you can make a bigger donation if you like. And all the monies go directly to people that need it in Maui.
This is one place where I'll suspend my rule about physical product and say, go ahead and purchase this. I did.
Yeah.
And I did add a little bit more money because this is quite a worthy cause. And it's a great comp. I mean, how can you beat a comp with the people that Mark mentioned plus a whole bunch of others?
So the timemachine2.bandcamp.com, so go there first, pay some money, download that, and then run over to BillLloydMusic.net and buy Bill Lloyd's brand new CD.
Right, but who are we going to have on the 27th?
On the 27th, we have Lisa Michaels and Eddie Finley. They're the two people kind of behind this whole project or highly involved with it, but Lisa will tell us.
It'll be a short segment, but they'll be on telling us more about it. But definitely go check it out. I mean, you can't go wrong with it. And again, it is for a really worthy cause.
And that takes us to the end of 2023. That takes us to episode, 130? That's 135 episodes since we started that by the end of the year.
Amazing. Yeah.
Unbelievable.
And we do have a guest. We do already have a guest scheduled for the beginning of 2024. This will not be on our usual Wednesday. It'll be on Thursday, January 4th. And many people watching were huge fans and purchasers of Rhino Records, their product over the years. And one of the co-founders, Harold Bronson, has just done this book called Time Has Come Today, which, of course, is the title of a Chambers Brothers hit from the late 60s. Rock and Roll Diaries, and that's exactly what it is. He talks about his experiences being a fan, a label owner, a person who is part of the social network of many, many different musicians. Features close encounters with, as you can see on the back, the Monkees, Peter Noone, the Turtles, John Sebastian, a whole bunch of people, many Rhino artists and many who weren't. It's really cool. He's a great writer. It's a really nice recounting of his experiences. It's a lot of fun. So we're going to have him as a guest. He'll talk about his days with Rhino and all a bunch of other good stuff, including the book. So you can check this out. I bought mine on Amazon, so you can get it there. It's a Trouser Press book. Of course, Ira Robbins founded Trouser Press, so you can get it through their website as well. It's really a really cool book, and we'll have Harold on January 4th. Sorry. On January 11th, we're going to do a similar thing to what we did on around that time in 2023. We're going to have a show dedicated to my best of lists, mainly the contemporary albums. I have no idea right now what that list is. I haven't done it yet. I have a lot of things to re-listen to, some things to listen to for the first time. And there's going to be a lot of stuff on that list, as there always is. And I want to thank everybody who sent me records during the year. I also purchased quite a few. So we're going to talk about contemporary stuff, reissues, all of that. Maybe we'll play a few clips, but we'll definitely talk about quite a lot. It should be fun. And hopefully we'll coax some people to purchase some of the things that I speak about, because it'll be stuff I love, and I want you to love as well.
Oh, and that reminds me, I completely forgot about that. I believe tomorrow, and you'll be able to check it out. We'll go live my brand new revamped site for Pop Detective Records, popdetective.com. You'll be able to buy a lot of the physical Pop Detective releases that have not been available for a long time. You can download digital stuff. There is a little blurb on Pop Detective Records. There's a blurb on material issues and links to international pop overthrow sites. We've got it's going to be a cool little website that my good friend Rob Feldman, the creator of Dr. Shroud, that I did the voiceover work for, and he's got a relatively last couple of years a new animated series called Psycho KO, which is being turned into a live action thing with a lot of the actors from Napoleon Dynamite.
Oh, wow.
So he did a really cool job on my website for me, but I think it should go live tomorrow. You'll be able to find it at popdetective.com.
You're going to make a post on Facebook letting us know when it's up?
Yep, I'll do all that stuff.
Cool.
Have a little DNS thing to figure out, and it's all ready to roll. So
I look forward to that.
Interesting stuff. And of course, always join us here on Facebook. I had a couple people texted me saying, "How do I get a T-shirt like David was wearing?" And
like Andy Hartley was just.
Andy Hartley was.
He won one, yes.
You can go out right there at material-issues.myspreadshop.com and order your own T-shirt in your own colors and whatever you like.
And you have all these different varieties. You have an actual T-shirt, and then what I was wearing was a long sleeve, a little thicker material.
Yep, and I know David he bought the edible underwear that we have. It's Material Issues edible underwear.
Episode 95, folks.
And we got it in again.
That's what she said.
So there's a lot of great stuff going on at Material Issues here for the holidays and the end of the year. But this was episode 133 with Bill Lloyd. Look into it. What a great new CD. So, hey, David, thank you so much. Great time hanging out with you. And I can't wait until next Wednesday with Bruce Brodeen here.
It promises to be really, really awesome. And we don't know what he's announcing, just so you know. We're as in the dark as everybody else. So,
but he says it's going to be well worth it. So
if he says so, it'll be extremely highly recommended.
Tune in, turn on, but don't drop out. Join us on Material Issues next week. David, have a great night as always. Love to Rena.
You too, Mark. Love to Chaz. Love to your daughters.
We will talk to you soon. Good night, everybody.
Good night, everyone. Thanks.